Do you support term limits, and explain why you do or do not?
So I 100% support term limits, and in fact, even if there isn't a rule in place that requires that, I plan on self-exercising that because I don't seek to be a career politician. I view this as an opportunity to serve my country. In fact, our founding fathers viewed it as such, and would, I think, be appalled today to see that what we did is, in essence, trade the yoke of the King of England for the yoke of a ruling class of career political politicians. Just think of how many people that you knew that when they first got into office, they were a firebrand. They were actually listening to the constituents, and they were coming back to the district, and they were really concerned about the issues that got them elected in the first place. And then over a period of time, their voting record just kind of seemed to drift, and their allegiances seemed to be more towards the House or the Senate leadership, and actually kind of extending their career opportunities up into different positions of power. In fact, we call the people who chair the committees, in fact, the woman that we're both running to replace right now, Congresswoman Kate Granger, got to be chairwoman of appropriations after being there for 28 years. They're called cardinals. Let that sink in for a second. So yeah, I think that we absolutely need to get back to or actually implement term limits, because clearly this situation has become abused. And I think that that would do a lot to get rid of a lot of the lobbyist money too, if they knew that a state representative or a congressional congressman was going to turn over every 6 to 8 years, and then a senator would be every 12 years, then what's the point? What's the ROI for putting that much money to pony up? So not only would I be for term limits, I would self-term limit, and I would actually absolutely demand that there be a House floor vote so that people could see who actually favors it versus just saying it.
Let me start out by saying I would have loved another 4 years of Ronald Reagan if he was allowed to serve. I would love for Donald Trump to be able to serve an extra 4 years if he's elected this time. We have elections once every 2 years. Whoever's elected this seat will have to come back and make a case for support in front of the voters every single 2 years. Every single 2 years. That's why the law is stated that way. That's never going to change. Because if you're a good member or a bad member, you, the voters, are going to decide that every 2 years. You just voted out an incumbent member of the Texas State House here in Parker County because you wanted to make a change. It is up to the voters. I will tell you an instance where term limits were bad. I was working in Florida. We were fighting the largest tax increase in Florida history on the citizens of Florida. And Governor Christ, who was governor at the time, wanted to go run for U.S. Senate against this no-name Marco Rubio. Governor Christ had the highest approval rating of any governor at the time. He said, I want y'all to vote for this tax increase so I can get on in the Senate campaign. Guess what? The members of the House and the members of the Senate were term limited. And he said, if you don't vote for this, I'm bringing you back for a special session. And they said, well, we don't want to come back for a special session. We want to go on with our summer vacations. But because they were term limited and there were no repercussions with voters with them, they voted for the largest tax increase in Florida history. Governor Christie went on to run for U.S. Senate against this no-name Marco Rubio. He used that against Governor Christie, and that's why Marco Rubio is in the United States Senate.